So these equations are slightly different from the ones that we did last time. Instead of just an x, so do you remember how we had sine of x or cosine of x? There might be another number in there. So like, do you see how this one says 2x? And this one says a half an x? And this one says 3x? The only thing that changes, because otherwise the process is going to be exactly the same. That tells you how many times to go around the circle. So for example, if it has a 2 there, you're going to go around the circle twice, okay? And then you have one step at the end where you divide out that 2. Otherwise, the exact same, okay? So we have sine by itself. We're ready to just draw the picture. Sine is positive square root of 3 over 2. So hey guys, what quadrants is sine positive at? No, I don't have your little cheat sheet up there today. 1 and 2, looks like little kitty cat ears. Sine is the y. You can also think of it this way. You can memorize that all students take calculus thing, or you can think of it this way. Sine is the y value, and if that's positive, it has to be like going upwards. Does that make sense? With the y value? Anyway. All right, so here's your square root of 3 over 2. What does that mean your angle is? Because that's kind of the whole goal here. It's pi over 3. Good. So here's the thing that changed. Instead of x equals, and we put the answers and we're just done, it's going to be 2x equals, we go around the circle twice, and then we have one extra step at the end to get rid of that 2, okay? So normally there would be 2 answers here, but how many do you think we're going to get? There will be 4, because you're going to go around and get those 2, and then you're going to go around again. So it's going to be a total of 4 answers, right? So as a heads up, do you get that when you go around 3 times, you're going to have like lots of answers? Okay, so just buckle up, okay? So the first one's pi over 3. And then what is this one over here going to be? 2 pi over 3. And we're going to go around again. The whole way around is 2 pi. What would that be as thirds? Good. Fun with fractions, okay? 6 thirds is what you're going to add to both of these. So 1/3 plus 6 thirds is 7 thirds. And then you're going to do the same to this one. 2/3 plus 6 thirds is 8 thirds. So you just have to keep on going. And then your last step is to divide by 2. So you have to get x by itself. So there's like one extra step at the end to divide by 2. If you divide by 3 and then you divide by 2, you have now divided by 6. Okay, so these should all be 6, but the thing is some of them reduce. So you just have to be careful. So this first one would just be pi over 6. Here you would have 2 pi over 6. But that's going to reduce to pi over 3. Or in that case, you could just think of the 2's canceling when you divide by 2, however your brain wants to do that. This one would be 7 pi over 6. That doesn't reduce. And this one would be 8 pi over 6, which would reduce. 8, 6 would be good. Perfect. 4 pi over 3. So it's kind of just like fun with fractions at the end. And if you want to write any of those fractions off to the side, I've said this like a billion times this year. Write a note to yourself off to the margin. That's like your thoughts, you know, like write down your thoughts. Okay. All right. So for this one, you have to get the signs together. So you have 3 sine of whatever, and you would subtract 1 sine of whatever. So that would give you 2 sine of whatever, in this case, x over 2. All right, and then you need to get rid of this 2 that's out front. So we're going to divide by 2. That'll give you a 1/2. Oh my gosh, guys, it came out to something that's on the unit circle. Isn't that crazy? I know. So now you're looking for quadrants where sine is positive, same as what we did in question 1. So it'll look like your little kitty cat ears, except the only difference is it's a 1/2 instead of a square root of 3 over 2. And so that means instead of a pi over 3, it is a pi over 6. And so again, instead of writing x equals and you just have your answers and you're done, you're going to write x over 2 equals, and we're only going to go halfway around the circle. And then you have to deal with that 2 that's in it. So you have like 1 extra step. Now we're only going to go halfway around, but that means we're going to get like both of these answers. You get what I'm saying? Because sometimes when you only go halfway around, you lose out on one of the answers. And I'll show you. I have an example on here like this. So the first one's pi over 6. What is the one that's in the second quadrant? 5 pi over 6. Perfect. Now we're not dividing by 2 in this case. To get rid of this 2, you would multiply by 2. And you know what? Here, I'll write it out. If you want to write times 2 to all of these, like if that helps you, write that. Like whatever helps you, write that. Okay. So x equals, this one would be 2 pi over 6. We have pi over 3. Again, you just have to deal with the fractions. 5 times 2 would be 10. So that would be 10 pi over 6, which would be 5 pi over 3. Yay. We'll do one more and then we'll do our brain break. What would you do first to start trying to get x alone in this one? Yeah, add over the square root of 2. This is why I liked doing that Desmos warm-up that we did, like getting the steps in order. It's kind of nice to see all the steps there and then you just have to put them in order. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Now I would reciprocate this one. What is your reciprocal of secant? Well, cosine. Good. So I'm going to change it to cosine. When it's secant or cosecant, you want to flip it over. So cosine, and then we're going to flip this side. If you flip square root of 2, it's going to be square root of 2 over 2. You can write 1 over square root of 2 and then rationalize it if you want, but it's a gigantic mess. Okay. So now we're going to decide what quadrants are in, but this time it's cosine and it's positive. So where is cosine? Cosine is the x value. The right, yeah, that's the way my brain does it as well. You can memorize all students take calculus if you want, but cosine's the x value. So if the x value is positive, like it's going to have to be to the right. So it's going to be these 2. And so it's our square root of 2 over 2 triangle. And that means your angle is pi over 4. And again, the only difference when it's not just x is you have to worry about how many times you go around in the circle, and then you have that 1 extra step to get rid of that number in there. So this one's x over 2. But look, you're only going to go halfway around. So if you only go halfway around the circle, you're only going to get this first answer. You understand you're going to miss out on this one? You won't get there. You're only going to go halfway around. So we only get the pi over 4. And then what's your last step to get the x? Yeah, multiply by 2. And if it helps you to write that, then write it. If you don't need to, fine. But, you know, I want you to get the right answer. So 2 pi over 4 would be pi over 2. All right, so for this one, there are an awful lot of 3's in there. The first thing that you'll need to do is divide this 3 over. So it'll be cotangent of whatever equals square root of 3 over 3. That is tricky to work backwards. So again, listen to me. If you get stuck, put the 1/2 somewhere and the square root of 3 over 2 somewhere else. You have a 50-50 shot. Do you get what I'm saying? It is one way or the other. All right. But when you go to work this backwards, if you like unrationalize that, it would be 1 over square root of 3. You like de-rationalize. And if you back that up even further, it'll be 1/2 over square root of 3 over 2. But again, remember, it's one way or the other. So if you aren't sure, pick one and go with it. Okay. So then we're going to draw our picture. It's cotangent and it's positive. Tangent and cotangent are a little bit more tricky. You might want to think about that all students take calculus thing. We want quadrants where cotangent is positive. But 1 and 3. Tangent and cotangent are the ones that go across from each other. I did not draw that very well, but whatever, it's good enough. Now, cotangent is x over y. So your x is the 1/2, square root of 3 over 2 is the y. Again, if you're not sure, put 1 in one place and 1 in the other. You got a 50-50 shot. And now here's the whole point. What's the angle that goes in there? Okay, you guys are good on that. Now, buckle up. It's not x equals, it's 3x equals. And we're going to go 3 times around the circle. That means we're gonna get a total of how many answers? 6. We're gonna get 6 answers. It's not more difficult, but it is slightly more writing, so just, look out, all right? First, we have pi over 3, and then this one is 4 pi over 3. Now, the whole way around is how many thirds? 6. So basically, you're just adding 6 to these numerators. So this one would be 7 pi over 3, and then this one would be 10 pi over 3. And then you just do it again. You would add 6/3 to these two. So what's the next one? 13 pi over 3, good. And then 16 pi, you just keep adding 6/3. You just keep adding 6/3. You could keep going, but I'm not going to. All right, and then the last step is you have to divide by 3. Now, this is where it does get a little bit annoying, and you're allowed to feel however you feel. So if you're annoyed, that's fine. You still have to write it. If you divide by 3, and then you divide by 3 again, you've now divided by 9, not 6. With me there? If you divide by 3, and then you divide by 3 again, it'll be 9. None of these are going to reduce, so you just have to copy them all over 9. And again, if you're like, I don't like this, that's fine. You still have to write it, okay? Just copy them all again over 9. It's not difficult. It just takes a little bit of time. You'll be okay. Yep, just look back at that sign right there. This one's ready for us to draw the picture. The cosine is already by itself. It's not going to be a triangle. It'll be a circle because it equals 0. So we're looking for places, we're looking for words like up, down, left, right, where cosine is 0. Yeah, up and down. So 0, 1, 0, -1. How many times are we going to go around? 2, which means our total number of answers is 4. Okay, so instead of x equals, we're going to write 2x equals, and then you have that one step after that to get rid of that 2. All right, so our first answer up here at the top, pi over 2, good. And then down here, there are 2. Yeah, I knew what you meant. Not yanking you in the hall to take a verbal exam. Now you have to go around again. So if this one's 1/2 and this one's 3/2, the next one's going to be 5/2, and then 7/2. Good. You just keep on going. If I made you keep going, what would the next one be? 9/2, and then 11/2. See, it's not hard. You just have to keep going. Now you have to divide over the 2. If you divide by 2 and then you divide by 2 again, you have now divided by 4. So you have to recopy all of those over 4. Which again isn't difficult, you just have to do it. It's almost nicer when none of them reduce, because you just blindly copy it and that's it. Sometimes every other one reduces. Like, didn't we do one like that? Yeah, like this one. See how this was 6 and then thirds and then 6 and then thirds? I feel like that's more annoying. It's easy to just copy it over. Right here, tangent is not by itself yet. What would we need to do? Square root. Now, when you put the square root, you have to put plus or minus. So it's plus and minus square root of 3. As a heads up, that means we're in every quadrant and we're going to have a lot of answers. Now, to back that up a step further, it would be plus and minus square root of 3 over 2 over 1/2. Again, if you're not sure, put 1 one place and 1 the other. You got a 50-50 shot. So we are in every quadrant, and as a heads up, we're going to go around the circle how many times? 2. So how many total answers? We're going to get 8 because it's 4 once around and then you go around again. So just as a heads up, you're going to get 8 answers for this. Tangent is y over x. So your square root of 3 over 2 is the y. 1/2 is the x. and your angle is pi over 3. All right, so here we go. It's not x equals, it's 2x equals, and we're going to list them all out. So pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, 5 pi over 3. I hope I don't run out of space because I got to be able to fit 4 more in there. Now the whole way around is 6/3. So you're just going to add 6 to all of those numerators. So if you add 6 to this one, be 7/3. If you add 6 to this one, 8/3, 10/3, and 11/3. I barely made it fit. And then I'm really sorry, but not really, because it's kind of just the way it is. You have to divide all those by 2. Now, if you've divided by 3 and then you divide by 2, now you've divided by 6. Every other one is going to reduce. So you have to be careful, okay? When you put all these over 6, the first one's just going to be pi over 6. This one would be 2/6. So 1/3. Or I guess it's not every other one because this one's going to reduce as well. This one would be 4/6, which would be 2/3. This one would be 5/6, which doesn't reduce. This one would be 7/6, which also doesn't reduce. And then you'd have 8/6, which is 4/3. 10/6, which is 5/3, and then 11/6. 2. You guys did it. I wouldn't give you more than 8. I think that's like the maximum I would go there. All right, this one. We're ready to draw the picture. Tangent is by itself. Now, I know that it feels like it would be a circle instead of a triangle because of that -1, but tangent and cotangent is different. First of all, let's figure out what quadrants we're in. Tangent is negative in which 2? Remember, they go across from each other. So 2 and 4. And what are the sides so that you can end up with a 1? It's your square root of 2 over 2 triangle, which means your angle is pi over 4. That's enough labeling. As long as you label the side and the angle, like, I'm happy. You don't have to label all of them. They're all the same. How many times are we going around the circle? 2. So how many total answers? 4. Total answers is 4. All right, so here we go. The first one is 3/4. Very good. And then the one in the 4th quadrant is 7/4. Now the whole way around in thirds was 6/3. This one's not thirds though, it's fourths. Oh, beautiful. You guys are good with the fractions. Can I go ahead and verbally, let's do, what if it was 6? It'd be 12/6. You just add 12 to everything. Okay, cool. But this one we're gonna add 8. 8/4 is the whole way around. So 3/4 plus 8/4 is 11/4. And then 7 plus 8 is 15. So you're just adding 8. And then you have one last step. You have to divide by 2. If you've divided by 4 and then you divide by 2, you have now divided by 8. And I don't think any of these are going to reduce. So you can kind of just blindly copy them all over 8. And don't stop listening to me after I finish this last one because I have one last thing to say. I'm not ready to just go ahead and draw the picture for this one. The sign is not by itself. So what would you need to do first? Good. Can I do both those steps at the same time? -1, divide by 2. Okay, so it's going to be sine x over 2 equals -1/2. You guys are going to like this one. What quadrants is sine negative in? It's the y value, so it has to go down. So good, 3 and 4. Quick question though, how many times are we going around the circle? We're only going halfway around the circle. So what do you think? Why is it no solution? It does not reach the answers. If you only go halfway around, you never make it to an answer. That's kind of cool, right?